Are you in the relationships you're in because you want to grow or because you want the relationship? Are you in it because you just want to feel good with that person? You want to have a good time? You want to laugh? Or are you expecting some level of growth?
If you focus on the building the relationship, the growth will come. If they're a growth paradigm, if you focus on the growth, the relationship will come.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1278. Are you more certainty-driven than you think? We recorded that episode at 10 p.m. We are recording 10 p.m. yesterday. We are recording today's episode number 1279. Why are you in the relationships you're in? At 10 a.m. So 12 hours from our last recording. I
missed you.
I missed you too. I think I had a dream about you. So I haven't been away from you for more than 5 minutes. I used to have really interesting feelings when I don't want to say create distance after I had some sort of relationship, but I've kind of let relationships die. And this is my example. I used to have a bodybuilding coach who, when I was working with, I was really good friends with. We would text, we would work out together. We were friendly. And once I stopped working with him, we were no longer friends. Not that there's no negative emotions or feelings. It just kind of died. The relationship kind of died. And the reason is I was in that relationship for growth. I was in that relationship for a very specific season, for a very specific reason. I was in that because this person knew more about bodybuilding than I did. I seek them out for their help. And then when I didn't want to do bodybuilding anymore, I was like, well, there's no reason for me to be in this friendship, this relationship, where I have other relationships in my life where I don't care about the growth at all. I'm not in the relationship for the growth. I'm in the relationship because I've used this example before. I'm buddies with, shout out to Derek. Derek gets another shout out. He got one last week. Him and I were talking about UFC today. I'm not in that relationship with Derek from a place of growth necessarily. I want to talk about UFC. I like talking about UFC. I'm in it because I want to have a good relationship with somebody who also values what I value. So when we say, why are you in the relationships you're in? That's what we're talking about. Are you in the relationships you're in because you want to grow or because you want the relationship? Are you in it because you just want to feel good with that person? You want to have a good time? You want to laugh? Or are you expecting some level of growth? Let me just preface really quickly. I'm not saying I don't grow in certain relationships, like with Derek. Derek's very into self-improvement, so I do grow with him, but that's not the main reason. If Derek stopped doing self-improvement tomorrow, it wouldn't affect me because I'm in that relationship from a place of UFC, right? The growth for me is an extra benefit. That's what I would say.
So this is I think one of the most powerful episodes we're ever going to do, because when this concept landed for me, it changed everything. So I'll use Kevin's examples. Kevin had a fitness coach for bodybuilding coach. And when he was bodybuilding, that relationship worked really well, and they were also friends. I used to mix this up all the time. So all relationships, I believe, are built on a common core value or a common passion. You've heard me say that before. So in this case, bodybuilding was the common core value and the common passion. And in the other relationship, the common core value or the common passion is UFC. This is what I want to share with our listeners. Think of two circles. I do this with my clients. Two circles on a piece of paper. One's on the right, one's on the left. Okay. On the right side, in the center of the circle, is the word growth. On the left side, in the center of the circle, is the word relationships. Okay. Both care about both. I'll explain in a second. But it's the priority order that's different. Okay. So if you are on the growth paradigm, and by the way, paradigm is just a fancy word for a deep belief about what you believe life is about. Okay. So what is your deepest core belief is a paradigm. Okay. So if you are in the growth paradigm on this piece of paper on the right, you are focused on the growth, and then your relationships are a byproduct of that. Okay. If you are in the relationship paradigm, you are focused on the relationship, and growth is a byproduct of that. And Kevin just described how he has both, meaning maybe I do believe you're more naturally relationship oriented, and then growth is a byproduct. So you were in a relationship with me, we started podcasting together, and then you started to grow as a byproduct. And I think that most of the population is of that, and I'll give you the stats. So according to the statistics in 2022, only 84% of human beings set goals. Of the 16% left, only 13% of people only 3% of the 16% left actually set and achieve their goals. And so picture the new year, it's 2023 and it's January 1st. Only 16% of the population actually have written goals, New Year's resolutions. And only 3% of those 16% actually follow through and fully achieve them. What this tells me is not that anyone's better than anyone else, but that people don't believe in themselves a lot. Because why would you not set goals if you had high self-belief? So, Kev, just imagine with the level of self-belief you have now, going out into the world and just not really having any goals. It would be almost unthinkable. Even though in the past, when you were 24, that was like totally normal. You didn't really have any, you kind of stumbled upon, you networked, I have a job for you, whatever.
And I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience of Next Level Live in 2022. I've been to a lot of live events before, and there's nothing quite like this group of people in this community that these guys have cultivated. The intimate feeling that you get in the group. Yes, there's a lot of people, but there's not so many people that it's overwhelming. I actually attended this event completely by myself last year, but I also felt right at home when I got into the room. If you've been following these guys on the podcast and you do their monthly meetups and things like that, I have to say there is nothing quite like actually getting in the room and being surrounded by the energy that these guys bring to the table. So if you are on the fence about attending Next Level Live 2023, I highly encourage you to do so. You are going to get so much out of the experience, and you are going to be so, so grateful that you did.
And so what I want everyone to understand is that maybe, and most likely, you are either in the growth paradigm or want to shift toward the growth paradigm, or are shifting toward the growth paradigm. And this is what happens. When you start to shift toward the growth paradigm, you start to set goals, you start to be consistent, you start to care about growth, you start to believe in yourself, you start to have higher self-worth. Hopefully that's what we're helping you with on this show. And then all of a sudden, the people that are in the relationship paradigm but don't know they are start to get along with you very different, because the growth takes you away from them. And so I've seen this time and time again, not only with listeners of this show and clients and team members, but essentially what happens is you start to grow, you start to set goals, you start to need more growth, you start to read books, you start to listen to podcasts, you start to behave differently. You stop focusing. It doesn't mean you don't have fun, you just stop focusing on fun as much. And you stop focusing on your relationships as much, because now you're focused on reading and getting better and listening to podcasts and going to the gym or whatever it is for you. And so the people that are still in the relationship paradigm are wondering, like, and this is all unconscious, they wonder why you don't spend as much time as you used to. And Kev, you've told the story once where a close friend of yours came up to you and said, I can't wait till we can start spending more time together. And you said, honestly, I'm not going to be able to do that. I care about you. I care about this friendship, but that's never going to happen. I'm busier than I've ever been, and I just don't see that happening, right? If you have an extra 2 hours in the evening, Kev, you're going to spend it with your wife, not with this other person. And I think now I finally, personally, hopefully this is freeing for our listeners the way it's freeing for me. I never understood it, because for me, all of my past friends, I still consider deep friendships. I still consider them friends. When I see them, it's like, hey, how you been? How's it go? And then they would be upset. And it's like, oh, so you don't think we're friends anymore. All right. And you tried to explain this to me many times, which is, Alan, friendships require quality time.
Not all.
Most friendships require quality time. Yeah. And for me, it never has really been that paradigm. I just didn't know it. So this has been really freeing for me.
Well, it was interesting because Alan was like, yeah, I mean, we could text Anthony Trucks right now. We've had Anthony Trucks
Yeah.
on the podcast and we've met him in person. He's like, he's a friend. Like we could text him and he would get back to us, and we have. But Anthony Trucks is not in the relationship for the relationship. He's in the relationship for growth. So
I never knew that back then.
Right.
Because I told Kev, I was like, Anthony Trucks considers us friends. And Kev's like, no way. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you. Like if you said, he would be like, yeah, those are my buddies.
For growth,
you know?
right?
But exactly, for growth. But
that's the interesting thing. That's why it's so important. And today's going to be a quick one because I got a podcast after this. But that's why it's so important to understand other people's order as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing. Like I keep using Derek as an example, and I want to make sure it doesn't get painted as he's not somebody who's into growth. If Derek stopped watching UFC, him and I would remain friends because he is focused on growth. If he stopped growing, him and I would remain friends because he'd still be focused on UFC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to. So Derek, I apologize if it came off in the beginning that you weren't focused on one or the other. I didn't mean it like that. but that's what I'm thinking of all times is like, if this person, when I connect with this person, if they're thinking they're going to see more of me, this probably isn't going to be a super successful friendship. If they expect to grow more, this is going to be a very successful friendship. If they don't want to grow, this is not going to be a very successful friendship because that's that's part of me at this point. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to lecture you on how to get better, but if you come to me and say, yeah, you know, life sucks and then you die, it's like, well, I can't get with that. That's not who I am anymore. So I'm probably going to flip that to some sort of positive thing. So yeah, figure out what is your order and ask yourself, what is the order of those around you? And has that created resistance? Has that created boundaries? Has that created roadblocks? What has that created? Has that created pain? Has that created better relationships? This is one of the reasons why relationships suffer or thrive.
The last piece that I would share is if someone is in a relationship paradigm, and by the way, this is mostly unconscious, if you focus on building the relationship, the growth will come. If they're a growth paradigm, if you focus on the growth, the relationship will come. And I think, again, it's just priority order. To Kevin's last point, with Derek, UFC is the priority of your friendship, but growth is a byproduct. Whereas with you and I, growth is the priority of the friendship, and the relationship is a byproduct.
You'll never watch UFC with me.
No, I just wouldn't. No.
And again, that's I don't care. That's not why I'm in this relationship.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the other thing is like I could watch UFC with Derek and then talk about life after. Perfect. Awesome.
Right.
Love that. You know.
And you probably wouldn't want to watch UFC with me because I'd be talking about goals and growth the entire time.
You know, when I'm watching UFC, I want to talk about UFC. All right, we got to get out of here. Next Level Nation, as you have heard us mention, April 1st, 2023, Worcester, Massachusetts, Next Level Live. You, 49 other humans, Alan, myself, some of the NLU team. It is going to be an experience that you will remember forever, I promise. Tomorrow for episode number 1280, how do you respond when you are given a compliment? That is going to be a very hyper-conscious episode. I'm excited to do that. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.